And welcome to the Lions Virtual Classroom. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some online fundraising and how we can set up an online fundraising site with Square. So why do we do online fundraising? Well, firstly, I think fundraising is necessary because it facilitates the service that we do. We can't build dialysis machines, but we can raise money that allows us to supply dialysis machines to help people with kidney disease. So we definitely need fundraising. Cash isn't king anymore. Cashless is king. In Canada, about 67% of all purchases, both in businesses and online, are done using cashless. So it's debit, credit. In the USA, it's a little bit behind that. It's about 60%. And that number's been growing each and every year. In the middle of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, contact-free is the new buzzword. And online fundraising allows us to receive money in a contact-free situation. And one of the great things about online fundraising is it's a steady, consistent revenue stream that continues having money coming in every day, every month, every week, all the way throughout the year. So first off, you need an online payment processor, and there's lots and lots available. There's Square, there's Shopify, there's PayPal, as well as many banks and so on offer payment processing systems as well. Our club settled on Square because it was able to be used in Canada, as well as the service fees and such were quite reasonable and comparable to what we would get from a bank. So when you're looking at different ways to set up your online fundraising site, really take a look at some of the aspects of it. Is the payment processor focused on bricks and mortar businesses, or do they have a focus on online sales? We found that Square actually did a little bit of both. It allowed us to have face-to-face sales that, at an event or at a function, by taking credit and debit as well as being able to operate an online site in order to receive online donations. So let's walk through what you need to set up a Square account. Obviously, you need the website, which is squareup.com. And you need your full legal name, and that's used just so that they can do some cross checks and verify that you're not laundering money and that kind of thing. You need the bank account number of your club, with the full bank, the transit number, and account number. The business name, in our case, it would be your local Lions Club. And then if your area offers a business number for your club, so your club might be incorporated and has an incorporation number, you'll want to use that business number too, because it really helps speed up the verification process. Once you enter that information, it will then ask you some simple questions about what type of business you are. Obviously, we're a nonprofit, and it just wants to know how you're going to take money. We generally, as Lions, probably don't have a storefront per se, but we might be doing events and activities where we might want to be taking and receiving payments. So you would just obviously check that off. At My Computer would be used for purchasings and things that are done by the phone, perhaps where you take orders by phone, you would enter it on a computer. The online store, which is what we use to receive our online donations, and then we likely wouldn't be doing a lot of invoicing to customers as well. So in most cases, I would think that the average Lions Club would have the event one checked off and the online store one checked off. Then it cascades you to a dashboard of all the things related to your new site with Square. And to start creating your site, all you do is you click the online store button at the top left, and that takes you to a subsite of Square, which is focused on the development of online websites. Then you just answer a few simple questions. You have an option for a single donations page, or you have another option to have a full website with an online presence, which may have a few features on it that you might want to pay for. But Square and the single donations page was absolutely free. And so I would recommend you just start off with the donations page, and you can always cascade and build up more onto it afterwards if you feel that you need a little bit more. Then again, it just takes you right through several steps. So the first step is designing your website. So you click the design your website link, and it creates a draft website for your online store. Obviously, you probably don't want pictures of the flower pots and pruning shears and stuff, but it's already got a donate button. It already has the name of your district or your club that you're setting up. It's already probably 50% of what you need. Over to the left of the screen, you will see a bunch of options for your site. So we're setting up an online store to do fundraising donations, so we're going to have the collect donations button checked off. We may want to add on events and ticket sales and so on at a later date, so we might want to uncheck that now, but we can always come back and edit it and check it off at a future time. We're likely not, we may not be selling items to ship out or some of those other items, but you might want to leave those unchecked. The ones that we used when we set up our site was collecting donations, including a contact form, which allows people to contact us and ask questions to us in our club about either the donations or about any of the other things about Lions that we wanted to do. And you can just obviously update that and increase what your site includes as time goes on. So once you've created the basic framework for the site by following those couple of checkboxes on the previous page, then you have an option. And the domain name is the next thing that you need to know. Our club already owns a domain name, and a domain name is the web address. So for lionsclubs.org, it would be lionsclubs.org. For our club, it's gravenhurstlions.org. And we purchased that domain name. It's not very much, probably $10 or $15 a year for the name. And then we just point that service or that name to our eClubhouse. The benefit of that is that way when you type something into an address bar, you just have to type in gravenhurstlions.org rather than that real long eClubhouse.com/gravenhurstlions/whatever. It just makes it a little bit neater and a little bit more professional. So I would encourage you, if you don't have a domain name, to consider getting a domain name and then pointing it to even your eClubhouse. And it's not very difficult to set up. And there are many companies like GoDaddy and so forth that are both available in the US and Canada that can guide you right through that process really, really inexpensively. But Square gives you a domain. So in this case, we could just create a domain that says something like helplionsserve.square.site. Maybe it's not quite as professional as the one we would have had with Gravenhurst Lions, but it's going to be acceptable for what we're going to do. So the domain that I set up for our own club, for our Square site, was donate.gravenhurstlions.org, and then that way it was linked to our main site and looked a little bit more professional. So once you do that, you're good to go, and that site will actually be pretty much live. So if you ever type into an address bar in your browser, helplionsserve.square.site, it will be there. So I'm going to flip over to, so you can see the Gravenhurst Lions Square site that we have and what sort of edits we've done to that site to start off. So when you get into your dashboard to start editing and customizing your Square site for you and your club, you start off with a header where you can adjust your logo and your logo size and some descriptions at the top of your page. The centerpiece, that's me in the middle and my wonderful daughter right next to me smiling. And So that's the main banner on the page. So that's what you would see when you go to that website, donate.gringerslions.org. And it created a donate now button, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And you can edit all that text and add whatever text you want or images and so forth to really make it your own. Below that is a featured donations. So we set up several different donations for different projects in our club, but then we periodically update that first page with the one that we're kind of focusing on right now. So in this case, it's our annual flag program where we place flags all throughout our community, and set it up with various donation amounts that people just have to very quickly click and go. They can also click the donate button, and they can then come a customized donation if they so chose. But we found that most of those donations work very well for people contributing to it. So on the dashboard, we set up an item library. So if we were a regular bricks and mortar type business, our items might be t-shirts and toasters and coffee makers and all those sorts of items and merchandise. But in our case, we decided that donations were just like merchandise, and that people were contributing towards a program or making a donation towards something instead of buying a t-shirt and a calendar and all those other things. So we set up 6 or 7, I think it's 6 little bucket donations of our most common donations that people would be contributing towards, our most common activities that our club does throughout the year. One being the annual flag program, COVID-19 programs, food insecurity and hunger, our lookout park, youth projects, and then also we just had sort of a catch-all for general donations that would go to our general funds to help all sorts of other people in our community. So we just set these up, and I'll show you how we can edit one of them. So our annual flag program, you simply put in the title and a description of what it is. And I recommend you don't make the description too long, because people have a short attention span online. But just kind of hit the key points about what that donation is going to do and why it's important. And then we added an image and a Lions logo, and you can just drop it in there. So it becomes, much like if we were selling t-shirts, it would be a picture of the t-shirt and the size and all that stuff. So on the site, this would be what the live site would look like. You would then see those 6 buckets all ready to go. And if a person chose to make a donation, they would click the donation button, and it would take them to the donation page, and they can pick any one of those options for how they want to donate. The amount of 6 donations fit nicely on the page, and didn't seem overwhelming to the guests coming to the website and the visitor. So we could always swap those out and change them here and there if we want to focus on something a little bit differently, or add things on as time goes on. But those are basically the donations we set up, for those 6, and it basically covered everything that we pretty much needed to do. So when you click on one of those donations, you have those 5 amounts, 25 up to 1,000, and then just simply push the donate button. What we found initially, and a learning we had, was that we had some smaller donation amounts, and people naturally gravitated to those smaller amounts. So we had like a $10 donation or a $5 donation. Once we removed those lower amounts and added on a higher amount, suddenly our revenue started to increase. So people naturally move towards the higher donation amounts. So don't feel afraid to go a little bit higher than you maybe would normally be thinking about. So starting at $25 basically covered the cost of one of our flags, and we cascaded up to $1,000, and we did receive several $1,000 donations towards our program. So obviously that was a good amount. By not having a higher amount, people sometimes felt that it was capped at the amount, because we originally had it listed at $100 donation, even though we had just assumed that people would click donate and then put a custom amount in. But we found that by putting amounts like $250 or $500 or $1,000 in as well, encouraged people to to donate a little bit more. So that was a good learning that we had from when we were setting up our shop initially. So once your shop is done, there's simply a publish button at the top, and in probably 2 to 3 minutes, all your information is up there, and then you would just be able to go to that web link and you'd be able to see the live site and start to collect donations. So it's all about publishing, promoting, and then prospering from it. So really, I think the key thing is we want to make sure that we share the link and talk about the link. What we found was a little bit different in this circumstance was that we rarely, as a club, went out asking for money. That was kind of uncomfortable to us. We were very comfortable at working a barbecue and selling a hot dog or a sausage and receiving money for that. This was a little bit different. We felt that it was going to be a little bit different because we were selling a tangible product. So as we started to promote the donate.gravenerslions.org site, we felt we really had to sell the service as the tangible product. So here's a recent Facebook post that our club did towards the end of the Lions here. So each year our club publishes a service report of all the service that they've done throughout the previous year. In this case, it said we helped over 26,000 people, and we included 15,000 meals for people in need. So then we just put it out there. We just said that COVID-19 is impacting our ability to continue to fund these service initiatives into the future. So we maybe we put a little bit of a sob story, but we just made it very soft at saying, hey, this is what we've done, but we need to be able to continue to serve, and we need to continue to fund these things into the future, and it's becoming a little bit more difficult. So then the words that we used a lot in all our promotion of our Square site was help us serve. And really sort of appealing to the public to help us serve by contributing funds and supporting us in our projects and our activities. So we said, help us serve by visiting donate.gravenerslions.org. And then I think it's important with Lions to always talk about how 100% of all our funds that we use and we collect are used to help people. That we don't use any of it for administration, because if we're going to ask people to pull out their wallet and send you $50 or $100 or more, those people really want to know that that money is being used effectively. So I think talking about that 100% of all funds raised are used for community projects is a pretty important message. So that was a fairly soft sell. We just talked a little bit about how the funding that we do and the funds that we're getting from you or that we're asking for you is going to help us serve by doing these particular projects. So that's the product we're selling. We're selling the service. As soon as you publish, as soon as you start promoting and start sharing some of this stuff, then all of a sudden the money starts to roll in. And here's an email from a lady that noticed that we had supported our local food bank with financial support during COVID, and also we were handing out toys for young people through the food bank who were stuck at home during our lockdown. So we received an email, $1,000 donation right towards our food insecurity initiatives, all through Square. So now, a reminder that we're not getting that whole $1,000 because there are some service fees that we had to pay Square, but I'm pretty confident if we didn't have the Square site, we weren't going to get that $1,000 because we haven't really had an opportunity to do any fundraising and so on in our community with the pandemic right now. So that was found money in our case. So in the couple of months that we've been operating our Square site, maybe 2-3 months and so on, all our fundraising events have been canceled, but we have replaced virtually all our money that we would have raised during that time period historically through Square. So the online donations do work. They really do. And the site is pretty easy to set up. And our club had the site set up probably in an hour, maybe. maybe hour and a half of playing around and adding some images and so on. So it didn't take very long to start having money starting to be received. And we started receiving donations the very next day once we started to promote the site. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing. So where do we move beyond this? You have a Square site set up, you're collecting online donations. COVID's not going to be around forever, we hope. And there may be opportunities to leverage the online fundraising for things such as events that you're running, selling tickets and so on online. You would just create items, much like the donation items, but instead it would be a ticket to the spaghetti dinner that your club is operating. You might have items that you sell for fundraising, maybe a calendar, maybe an item that you want to raise money from, that you want to sell. So you have opportunities just, again, create items in your store and sell those items. And you might have to figure out a way how you're going to deliver them. Are you going to mail them? Are you going to courier them? Or are they going to be for pickup? Whatever. The other thing is that Square offers you an opportunity to pick up and order Square readers, which allow you to take credit card and debit and other types of cashless payment face to face. So the one reader is free, but that just allows you to swipe a credit card. Up here in Canada, where we are pretty much 100% on PIN and chip, that type of reader won't really work very well for us. But you can purchase for about $50 or $60 a Square reader that allows you to do tap on your debit cards and your credit cards and use the PIN and the chip, which allows us to, when we start to do some of the face-to-face events and so on, it allows us now, instead of just taking cash, we have an opportunity to capture that 67% of the population that use debit and credit instead of cash. So ordering some Square readers for your face-to-face fundraising is pretty good. All they do is they just connect to your cell phone or your tablet with Wi-Fi or with mobile data, and then processes them that way. So it can work very effectively, and it allows you to capture some of those people that maybe don't have cash in their pocket. I think the possibilities for setting up online payments and online fundraising are really endless, and Square made it very easy, and I think it was very successful for our club. And obviously, anyone is more than able to reach out to me if they have any questions on setting up their first Square site. But I'm confident that you shouldn't have too many challenges doing so. It's pretty straightforward. So now I'd entertain any questions. I think we have a few minutes available for anybody who has any questions. You can either raise your hand or enter them in the question pane. Thank you very much.